Chef James Rigato has proven you don't have to be in the heart of a major city for a superb fine dining experience to attract guests from near and far. His hard work and devotion to Michigan products has boosted the local economy and food scene in White Lake.
White Lake is a phenomenal town to do business with.
The thing that I love about TheRoot is it's that upscale food, but with that real comfortable atmosphere.
It's just nice to have this caliber of a restaurant in this area because there's nothing like this.
It's extraordinary without being one bit pretentious, and I love it. It is about 50 miles outside of Detroit, but people are willing to drive.
When you have a really good skill set and passion, you can go anywhere.
And the Lake Superior Whitefish is a true testament to Chef James' impressive skills in the kitchen.
It's a seared whitefish with a nice seaweed and shrimp stock-based broth and some Michigan soybeans and vegetables.
Lake Superior whitefish is really popular because it's a mild fish and it's caught here.
How do you go wrong with that? I mean, it's beautiful.
We have water surrounding us. We can get all the fish we want as fresh as possible.
Use the resources you have. Lake Superior whitefish is very common in Michigan. I wanted to do a dish a little less typical. I like to take an indigenous product in Michigan and kind of put it at the forefront of the menu. I joke a lot that, chefs are the yahoos in between farmers and the consumer.
Anything that he can get local, he knows that's what his customers want.
I love TheRoot because they strive to serve fresh and local ingredients.
And it just comes down to supporting the local economy and growth, and I mean, you can't beat buying from local.
How do you make this dish? What do you do?
So this is rice flour.
Interesting. Why rice flour?
I like the texture that it gives it. Kind of like a nice little bit of grit. The fish itself is very, very light, dredged in rice flour, which is a very light flour. I do a soy syrup, and this is basically soy sauce, a little bit of sugar, lightly cooked down. It kind of becomes like a simple syrup. While the fish is dredged, I have a Michigan soybeans that we soaked overnight and slowly cooked in a little salted water. I like to bring them up to a light simmer in dashi broth, and we make the dashi broth in-house.
Dashi is a Japanese broth, are used a lot in Japanese cooking.
The dashi broth with Michigan shrimp shells is very Michigan, but it's a Japanese technique.
It's a very light broth, but it has a meaty flavor.
The shrimp stock with the bonito flakes and the kombu seaweed really kind of ground that broth.
The contrast is great, and the sauce just adds to it.
The fish here is phenomenal.
Umami is like this, the missing sense that Japanese cuisine kind of builds on.
Good food doesn't lie. I mean, there's no shortcuts in good cooking.
It's a flavor profile that scientists will argue over, and it's not on the tongue map. That next level, the one you really can't describe.
If you're dealing with the best ingredients possible, you don't have to over-manipulate the product.
Any good dashi should approach umami. So this is gonna heat up, and kind of like the beans will kind of take a little bit of dashi in, and I'm going to move over to my saute pan and begin to saute the whitefish.
What is the flavor I'm going to get from the whitefish?
I think it's a really mild fish, and the sweet soy should kind of give it a nice salty, sweet undertone, and just a little bit of grit, like a pleasant grit on the tongue from the rice flour. And then you're really gonna have the seafood flavor enhanced by the dashi broth.
Whitefish is not an aggressively flavored fish.
It's so subtle in the flavor.
Flaky and just real light and delicate.
I want to be conscious of the amount of salt I'm adding because the soy, the dashi, there's already a good amount of sodium, so I can always add salt at the end. So while the beans are almost there and the fish is almost done, we're going to saute the bok choy. Beans are hearty, the bok choy has a nice strong cabbage presence.
It's in the Chinese cabbage family, and it has dark leafy greens with these crunchy stalks to them.
And I like to start with the bok choy on the bottom.
And how does the bok choy work with this dish?
I love a nice crunch, and the cabbage flavor is really earthy and a little bit of sweetness. Rounding it out with pickled daikon, which is a very strong flavor.
It's crisp. It just gives a nice balance to this dish.
So whoa, that is gorgeous.
A little pickled daikon, and it almost looks artificial, but we actually throw a couple pieces of beet to give it that bright pink color. That's our whitefish.
Oh, that's beautiful. I'm ready to dig in. Don't go anywhere because it's almost time to eat. I'll finally get to taste 3 of Chef James' best bites when we come back.